Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Millennium Blades. Not really specifically the collusion stuff, but since I have it, why not talk about it? So I actually have done a discussion over Millennium Blades in the past, at this point 5 years ago, but probably since then, maybe one other time that was like the last time I had played it. So I figured it was nice to do a refresher and kind of just scrap that old video and do kind of the newer format where it's just me. But yeah, so Millennium Blades is a completely unique game, and there's nothing else like it, nor do I think anyone would even attempt to try and make this game. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is a game, a meta game about a pre-release collectible card game. Like the idea of going to a store, buying a booster box of packs of Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, whatever, and sitting down with a bunch of people, opening up a pack, picking a card, and drafting it to make a deck. And that, I mean, it literally says CCG Simulator on it, and it is pretty damn close in a more Euro format, because everything about the theming on it is kind of touched on somewhere. Like, for example, the market that's out there for cards for you to buy. You are paying for the packs, but you're only getting one card that is supposed to represent the best card in that pack. But each set, so each card that has like a unique back, is part of a set. And those will have, various types and elements and different cards in them that all do different things. The amount of work and effort that this game kind of brings is insane. Because there are tons. I mean, I'd have to reach for it. But with this collusion pack, there are like all these mini expansions that these are the characters, but there we go. Nope, still characters. No, actually, yeah, so set breakdown. Like all of these different colors are all the different sets from their mini expansions. Now, how balanced does it make this game? I don't know, but I know the designer, Brad Tolton, has mentioned in the rulebook that if there's a broken combo, he says chances are he knows about it, but he intentionally left them in because you can just get that. In a CCG, you can find a busted combo because at that point, there's too many cards to try and balance it out. Now, of course, later on, they find metas and then they're usually banned and so on and so forth. But I find this game absolutely fascinating because you have the two phases of the game, the deck building phase, which is real time. And I say real time, it is real time. You have 3 phases in the deck building at 7 minutes, 7 minutes, and 6 minutes. Every time I have played this game, that is more than enough because you're only allowed to take 8 cards with you into the tournament phase, but you're only playing 6 of them. So the chances are, if you find a solid 6 to 8 card, hand of cards that you're wanting to play, you're gonna find that pretty early on, and also mainly because you run out of money, and that's kind of where the phases end. It's like, well, I can't buy any more cards. This isn't the greatest 6 cards I have. I know I could probably find something more, but I don't have any money anyway. I can't sell anymore, so I'm pretty much done. But again, if everyone's like that, then you just call it early and you go to the tournament phase. What I feel like the timer is there as more of kind of a way to ensure that if you have a group that is heavy negotiation, you're allotted that time to sit down and try and trade, because you're allowed to trade with other players. You can. I feel like I'm like really I'm talking like this. I don't know why I set these like this. Stupid box. There we go. So you're allowed to actually converse with other players, trade them potentially victory point cards or money or cards. If it's like, hey, does anyone have a fire card? That would be really good for me. They're allowed to kind of like see, like remember what you did in a previous tournament. And it's like, oh, I know you got a lot of points for fire cards. Do I really want to trade this with you? And you can haggle back and forth, and it gives you that time to do it. But you're not sitting there forever and just really like, okay, what about this card? What about this card? Eventually the time's going to run out. So I know this has a real-time element to it, but I've always told people it's really not that strict. But it's there to keep the game kind of moving. But during the deck, and they say deck building, I would honestly say hand constructing, because you're not building a deck. You are constructing a hand of cards, because you also don't draw in the tournament phase. It's not like you're building a deck to then shuffle and then, draw 5 cards or draw from the top and play. You have your hand of cards. So you'll have your 8 cards to look through and decide in what order you want to play them. And so it's really hand constructing, but during that element, I think they do such a fantastic job of being as close as possible to creating that feeling of a pre-release tournament setting. Because you have some information on the packs, and this game heavily rewards multiple plays. I can't even begin to oversell that, because there are so many cards that call for sets, that call for names, that you will just learn. And the game even kind of tells you, hey, once you set your store, which is comprised of, I think, 11 sets, you just shuffle those together. So this right here, this is all one set or one store. And honestly, what you could do, and you could do this in a ton of different ways. You can either, what's fantastic is the rules give you what other deck builders do, of like, hey, what kind of game do you want? Do you want a heavy PvP element, like a lot of clashes? Then use these sets. You want a basic set for beginners? Use these sets. You want ones that give you a lot of combos or a lot of flip effects? Use these sets. I love that. So you can either follow that. You could also just have your friends look through and be like, this one sounds cool, and throw it in there. Or what would probably be a little bit more thematic to real life is you do the basic set. And then you play that kind of like when Magic first came out. You do that, and then you swap out a set for a different one. And that's the new release. And then so you add a little bit more flair to the market of what's new cards that are going to be coming out. And try and use synergy with what the new set is bringing to the old stuff, kind of like you would in real life. I mean, there's a ton of ways you can just do with the store, but I highly recommend you just, because the initial setup of this game is, kind of a bear. But once you're done, then it's super easy, because then you just have the store. But you're going to have so many different types of combinations and so many different types of synergies with the way that you're actually going to build your hand. And I find that incredibly impressive and also very satisfying. Because whenever you're doing things, whenever you go into the tournament phase, I mean, yeah, you're just trying to get the most victory points, or the most ranking points, which then turns into victory points. But what's cool is that none of the cards that you use in the tournament phase go away. Now there are actually some effects. There's an accessory you can use that you attach to an opponent's card, and after the tournament, that accessory and that card get removed from the game. Because when you're not doing a pre-release and you're doing 3 tournaments, the deck that you use, let's say you got 300 points. You had this really awesome combo in the 8 cards or the 6 cards that you played. Well, if that happened in tournament 2 and you're going to tournament 3, your opponents know what you did. So it actually allows for remembering what your opponents did. And then the next deck building phase, you're going in trying to find counters like you would in a tournament. You would be like, oh, I know that person plays a mono blue control deck, so I'm going to now bring a deck that counters that. especially if you play them multiple times, like you do in, I think, in pre-cons. The only one I ever went to, you played the same people multiple times. Sometimes your deck went the way it did, you wanted it to. Sometimes it didn't. But in this game, it really captures that feel, because it's like, oh, now I found a card that says name a card in an opponent's hand, and if they have it, it gets discarded. And so if you play that, you're like, oh, I want Hemsey the Snitch. That was your trump card in your combo. So I'm gonna name Hensley the Snitch, and you have to discard it. And now you're not gonna get those 300 points. But then your opponent, who made that, knows that that you might be building that way. So then they might find accessories that can prevent that. There's like official brand. Funny enough, in front of me, official branded hoodie. As a reaction, when you or your cards are targeted by an effect, choose a new legal target for the effect. It's like, oh, you chose Hensley the Snitch. I'm actually going to make you choose this card instead. Or Hellbane plushie. Prevent an opponent's effect from flipping any number of cards from your tableau or discarding any number of cards from your hand. So you can be super defensive to try and protect your cards. These are essentially counters to other things. There's a ton of different ways that goes into how you're going to gain points and how you're going to disrupt your opponents, which as you go back and forth and do multiple tournaments, you're going to learn. And then, just from the exact store cards, each set has a theme centered around it. One, not only are they kind of pop culture references, like this one, which is my favorite in the game, The Legend of Tanananaha, Link to the Ocarina's Awakening of the Future Past. I wonder what that's referencing. So there's a lot of cards that are like that. Very, wink wink on very popular things. Clearly Legend of Zelda. There's Mario Brothers in here. There's a bunch of promos from other video games. Like they have Street Masters, they have Near and Far, they have Madara, they have some of their other games. BattleCon, I think, is in here. Maybe not BattleCon specifically. No, it is BattleCon. They have Seventh Cross. They have a bunch of other collabs with other IPs within board gaming. And this set sheet tells you what they're about. And that's why this game incentivizes multiple plays, because whenever you're buying packs, at the beginning, you're just going to be randomly buying cards and hoping that you get what you're looking for, because on the back of each one of these sets, it tells you, oh, this has 4 machine construct and 1 citizen, but then it also has 2 dark, an air, a fire, and a light. So you're like, oh, I'll spend $5. Paper money in this game is actually great, by the way. So $5. Oh man, I really hope it's the light card. It's not. Okay, it's a dark. How can I name a card for each player's hand that contains that card? They must discard it. It's like, okay, like that's not really great on stuff like that. But then you're able to use that card for another reason. You can either do a set collection during deck building. You can fuse them to get promos. And on top of the sets that you throw into the store deck, one, you have core cards that are just great to have. That's where like a lot of deck cards, deck boxes, and accessories could be. There's also promos of bronze, silver, and gold that are also completely thematic. Like the Millennium Blade, the Madara promo set is all about choosing an ally, and then everyone fights. Like, for example, Nightingale, choose an ally for this clash, then all players clash. If you or your ally won, you gain 25 and your ally gains 15. Otherwise, your ally loses 25. And they all are centered around having an ally. The Hot Chicks gold promo pack is all about, they're all fire animals. And like for Birds of Us, choose a set. They're all choosing a set and gaining something for that set. And there's a ton of bronze, silver, and gold promotional packs. It's such a fantastic, game that rarely gets played. I feel like it was interesting because I just played this again with 3 players, and then I played it again at 2, and I really find this game to be surprisingly player count friendly. You would think that, oh, you want more people. And more people does help. More cards are going to get, drawn. More cards are going to get sold. More cards are going to get traded. That's just kind of the player interaction is going to be there. But you don't really miss out on that too much. It becomes a little bit more mechanical. Like you're a little bit more focused on your own thing in a lower count game. But that's how it is anyway. If you're playing Commander at 2, which you shouldn't do, but you can, there's no negotiation. What you're hey, please don't attack me. I'm your only opponent. Please let me do something. That's not going to happen. But if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game of Commander, you have allies. You make alliances. Can you can you protect me? Can you not attack me this turn? If he plays something against me, can you counter it? And I'll try and help you out in the future. There's a lot of ways you can negotiate, and this game also has that. So in the 2-player game, you're definitely just focused more on actually getting your deck, getting your hand made. But you can still trade and stuff like that. But yeah, like the 3-player game was very interesting because one of the friends I was playing with, he's like, well, I kind of got railroaded because my only deck box wanted me to have animals. I couldn't find any animals. It's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then don't go for animals. Like you could easily just not try and find a different deck box. But I can understand why that would be frustrating if you are buying cards or you're spending all your money opening packs, not getting any difference of a deck box, and your opponents are spending money and getting exactly what they're needing. Well, then yeah, you're not going to do that well in the tournament. But at the same time, this game is surprisingly not that long. I don't think so. I think because you're only playing 6 cards in the tournament, the game goes by pretty quickly. And then it's like, and even then, it's not like your ranking points are your final points. That's just, hey, I had the most, so I'm going to get, 25 points at the end. And you still got some points, so you're going to get 10. And then second place gets 15, or whatever it might be. So you're still going to get some points, and then you can just try again next time, because every deck building phase you get more money. On top of all of that, every player has a player power. And I think the player powers are awesome. They are completely unique. And I love the fact that they have a deck building and a tournament power. Because I think that makes them even more versatile. Like, for example, Dex. And their names are hilarious. It's like Fulton Suitcase. His whole thing, he's the Kaiba. He just gets extra money. So everyone starts with $30 during the deck building. He gets an extra 15. So he starts with more money. And he can spend money to look at the top card of the store deck. So he's able to do that. Dex Aplenty gets to he gets to carry 2 deck boxes and 3 accessories for his deck building, and then he can actually score his deck building, his 2 deck boxes in the tournament phase. Cardine Collecta, she begins the game with a random bronze and silver promo, and her fusions cost 1 less. And then the tournament, she can attach this card and then this card cannot be flipped by opponent's effects as long as this card is attached. This card cannot be discarded from play. And then score, she can activate a score effect of the card that this card is attached to. So I mean, she just allowed, hey, this card is going to stay with me no matter what anyone does. And there are one person, he prints cards. So he gets extra cards at the beginning of the deck building phase, and then he can also pull stuff from the aftermarket to activate during his turn. It's honestly it's one of those games that feels like it should be a bear to play, and if you like this kind of thing, I mean, I'm not saying, oh, this is going to turn people into they're going to be a CCG person. But if you're already into CCGs or you like the idea of it, but it's like, well, Magic just costs too much. It's pay to win. I completely agree, unless you're playing Commander. But even then, it costs money. It's a lot of money. I was heavy into Commander at one point, and I had an epiphany of like, oh, I'm never not going to be buying cards. So it's either I do Magic or I do board games, and I clearly like board games better. So I quit playing Magic. But I still love the game. So if you're thinking like I really want to get into that, this game is definitely one to look at because you're gonna get that absolute CCG feel. And they just released two expansions, but really what it is it's 2 boxes of all of their mini expansions, all their mini promos and stuff condensed into 1 box, or condensed into 2 boxes. So really you just need to buy the core game and then get those 2 expansions, and then I believe you'll have everything for the game. And I know that because I bought those thinking they were new content, and it's not. I already have everything. So I have those 2 boxes for no reason, which is kind of lame. I'm a little upset. I thought I was because they called it new expansions, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna get the new expansions. Yeah, I mean, I really like this game, and I don't know why I was just. I feel like in last time I had played it, I kept thinking it was more complex than it was. And maybe it was, and maybe the collusion stuff actually simplified it. But I really just felt for some reason that this game was just, super heavy to jump into. But it's honestly not. I don't think so anyway. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I really don't have many. I don't really think I have any negatives on it. I don't like that it's 2 boxes, even though I think you probably could find an insert, like a 3D printed insert for it, honestly. The initial setup's kind of annoying just because you have to shuffle so many cards together, but once you're done doing that, then you're good to go, honestly, and you could even make this kind of a really fun, like it's your own CCG. Like if you're playing this a lot, then you can kind of see with your group, be like, okay, I think it's time to, hey, a new release is coming out for Millennium Blades, and then be like, hey, which set do you guys not like? Oh, well, 1001 Nights kind of sucks. Okay, we'll pull that out, take another set, and throw it in. So there's a lot that you can do with this. I love the fact that there's meta cards. That just, hey, this is the meta right now. Everyone's playing Construct, so you're incentivized maybe a little bit to go after Construct, Earth and Construct cards to get an extra RP boost. If other people don't do that, that might change the game. And if you don't like the competitive nature, it does have a cooperative mode where you face off against someone. I haven't tried the co-op, so I actually have no idea if it's any good. So yeah, this one's a unique one. Like, how often am I going to get it to the table again after this? Probably not a lot, but I've always kept this in my collection. There have been games that I've looked at that I haven't touched in that amount of time, about 5 years, and I had no problem getting rid of. This one, something about it, I was like, I really do like that game. And then I eventually just brought it over to a friend's house to actually play. I was like, because I brought multiple, and I was like, if we play any game, it needs to be Millennium Blades. And I was happy we did, because then I was reminded of how great it is. So yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, I gotta go 9. I really like this game. I think it does something completely special with everything. And because you're not building a deck and you're really just building a hand, I find that this game would be overwhelming if you were actually building a deck. It's like, okay, yeah, I know it's a condensed version and it's not as expansive as those other games, but I don't want to build a 30-card deck. But I am perfectly fine building an 8-card hand and then some accessories in a deck box. And trying to make that work. And honestly, you could stick with the basic deck for a while. Like hey, here's what we recommend for beginners. Here's the story. You could stick with that for a while before you've kind of seen everything, because you're just not going to. You're really not. And even if you did see everything, you're not going to see them in a there's so many just different playing combinations where it's like, oh man, yeah, you could do that, which would combo into that, which would combo into that, and that would give you a lot of points. I like that a lot more than attacking someone and reducing someone's life to 0. And hell, even the clashes in this game, the fighting is war, really. I mean, it's like, hey, clash with another player. Okay, it's my 1 versus your 4. Take the top card of the store deck. People might find that simplistic, but I think it's only simplistic with like the basic cards, because there's clearly other sets that are very clash focused that are a lot more complicated. But I like the fact that it's quick. It's not like this whole ordeal of like, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and you attack, but then I'm going to counter, and then I'm going to do this. There's none of that. I mean, unless it's like, oh, the loser flips their card, I'm going to use my deck protector as a reaction to prevent that from being flipped. There's so much stuff in this game that if you're able to get it all, you're set. So I'm giving Millennium Blades a 9. And that's it, everyone. That's my thoughts. So let me know what you think of Millennium Blades in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.